Hey there, LBT Squad, I'm your host Alex Pop, and as most of you probably know, from 2 years ago, as well as 2 videos ago, I said that I was planning on attending Harrisburg Comic Pop Con 2020, when it was announced that there was going to be a Land Before Time panel there, featuring Scott and Andy McAfee, as well as Aria Curzon. But then that didn't happen because the beer bug happened. To those of you who are not dead, sound off in the comments. However, when it was announced that the same arrangements were being made for Harrisburg 2021, I knew that I couldn't let it slip. So, got myself the plane tickets and I went down there to attend. It wasn't until I arrived at the airport that it dawned on me that this was my first time flying alone. And though the only roadblock came when I arrived in Harrisburg and I went down to the car rental place to pick up my car, only to find out that the agency that I made reservations with didn't accept debit card, only credit. Helpful advice to anyone out there who's like me and doesn't use credit cards. The only rental agency that I'm aware of that does accept debit card is Enterprise. They're the ones who saved my butt from this whole ordeal. And honestly, I think I spent more time trying to sort things out over there than I did actually driving the dang car that I eventually got. So when that was over with, I checked into my hotel room and spent the rest of the Friday there. It's too bad this wasn't on the other side of Pennsylvania. I could have visited some relatives during the trip. But I spent all of Saturday at Harrisburg Comic Con, as well as half of the Sunday there before I had to catch my flight back. And it was actually the very first comic and/or pop convention that I ever attended. And it was really interesting seeing all the inventive cosplays and all the relics of pop culture past, and all the different booths. There was one guy who was running a Jurassic Park booth, and he had a really good Ian Malcolm cosplay, as well as his own Jeep that he painted to be like the one in the movie. He and I talked quite a bit about the Jurassic movies, and it was really fun to be there to see all the kids there getting really excited about dinosaurs. There was one young girl who I showed my fossil teeth to, and when I told her that these were real dinosaur teeth, her jaw just dropped to the floor. And there was another booth that was selling movie posters and horror movie souvenirs, and so I could not pass up the opportunity to buy the original classic poster for The Land Before Time. And since there were discounts for more than one, I thought I want to get another movie poster for a movie I like, but one that has a poster that has a really cool and unique design. So I chose A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Underrated, by the way. And the booth was also selling these pillows that had horror movie icons on them. That's a real concept. And there was one that had the image of the poster for the movie Dead Silence, an image that has freaked me out for the last 15 years. I don't know, it just really gives me the heebie-jeebies for some reason. Don't Google it. It will become your sleep paralysis demon. But when I saw it, I thought, I really should get it. This has been freaking me out for too long. That thing needs to be in my face when I fall asleep and wake up in the morning. I really need to get over it. But alas, I chickened out. But enough about that and about the main attraction, the Land Before Time panel. So I got myself the Land Before Time VIP pass, which got me this really trippy poster for the Land Before Time reunion tour. They're really freaked out because that sharp tooth looks way too realistic. And of course, the VIP pass got me photos with Scott, Andy, and Aria, as well as their signatures on personal items. I had let Aria know ahead of time that I was coming, and she was really excited to see me. And also, Scott and Andy recognized me right away. I kind of figured that Scott would. I mean, there's nothing that would help him differentiate me from being the guy who got his photograph wrong in my Voices of Littlefoot Ranked video. Plus, the Land Before Time VIP package gave me the permission to film the Land Before Time panel, in which Scott, Andy, and Aria take questions from the audience. They discuss memories that they have of recording with fellow voice actors. Scott and Andy fight over the mic. They struggle to remember the lyrics to their songs. And another Land Before Time fan asks what became of Littlefoot and Allie. So, treat yourself. Hope you can hear everything okay.
So I'd like to welcome everybody today. I'll pull up my little cheat sheet here and do some little introductions of people you may know. I feel like I have to start with her, or she'll get angry and maybe hit her brother. We'll start with Anndi McAfee, the voice of Sarah.
Really hard.
And then beside her, she says she's a brother, but we're not sure, allegedly. We have Scott McAfee, the voice of
Hello
Littlefoot.
everyone, Scott McAfee. Nice to see you all.
And right next to Scott is Aria Curzon, the voice of Ducky.
Yup, that's me. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you very much for joining us here. After this, I know we have some of the VIP people in the room. We'll get your photos before you leave here with all three of the guests. So we'll take care of that here. So we'll kind of get into it here. I don't want to take up all of your time here. So we just have some questions. If anybody else thinks of any questions throughout this, may take some of those as well. So if we start here, we'll start with, which I think is something we all believe. The Land Before Time has been a pop culture movement in my eyes. There's generations that watch it, they love it. The adults now having children, and they've all seen the movies. What makes it so special? What keeps the Land Before Time just growing and alive?
I guess I will try to answer this. So what do I think keeps us going, keeps it alive? Well, it's very wholesome. It's not wholesome. It's not wholesome at all. No, it's just a really great story that we can all relate to. They talk about various issues passing away in ways that kids can watch and enjoy. I don't know, what do you think, Andy?
I think it's the songs that you can never stop singing. That's what I think.
I just think it's the great relationship between all of the characters, and the fact that the people who during that generation, they've taken it with them, and that they grew and kept going, and it was one of those first sequential kind of movie situations where you can just keep following it as you grow up. And I have lots of friends now who are introducing their kids to films. So
I was going to say all that, by the way.
All right. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and just demote here. So why do you think your character's your favorite? Or why do you like your character more than everybody else's?
Microphone stuff. I love playing Sarah, and I don't know if I think she's the best, but she's certainly the best to play because she treats Littlefoot like a brother. I have a brother. She's a little snarky. She's a little bit bossy, but it's so fun. That's why it's my favorite character.
Just a little bossy.
Just a little bit. I don't know. I just, to me, she's such a fun character to play because I just get to get out all of that aggression. I'm not really like that at all in real life. So I get to act. And I just love that character so much.
I'd like to comment on the aggression and anger. No, I'm not going to. So I really enjoyed playing Littlefoot because he's just such a, out of all the characters, yeah, he's very endearing, he's nice, he cares so much about his friends, he's always trying to help, and he was the last to play because, unlike my sister, that's how I am in real life.
Well, I love all the characters. I'm the most like my character, I think. Ducky, of course, is it? As you know now. I love Ducky because she's she's positive. She just makes people, she's happy. She's willing to be a part of the gang and help however she can. And I think they're all a big family. And she has, her adopted brother, Spike, who she loves unconditionally, even though he can't speak. She's fun. And she's in my heart. I love her. So, but I love all the characters too. I can't really pick a favorite. I'm just lucky and happy that I got to do Ducky.
There we go. All right. So we've talked about, said some of your favorite lines here, or you mentioned some of your voices here. What's some of the lines that stick out in the movie to you all? Whether it's your character or somebody else's, maybe like a favorite scene that you had, or your favorite line that you may have recorded.
All right, so I'm thinking about this, And my favorite line, because this represents Littlefoot the most, is whenever he would say, "Sarah, Ducky, Petrie, Spike!" Because he knew he was about to go on an adventure with his friends.
Wow. After 14 movies, trying to think of your favorite line. I always had this, when people ask me to do her voice, I always do something like, greenhorns are better than long necks. I like any of the lines where she gets to kind of growl down here. It's my favorite thing to do with her. But I think one of my favorite scenes, I think one of my favorite scenes is from the 14th movie where Sarah, I don't know if she's in the cave and she's floating down the water and she's so relaxed, and it never happens with Sarah. So she's just like, oh, don't worry about it, everything's fine. And I think that's one of my favorite scenes. It's just so opposite of her character.
Oh, hi guys. What are you doing here? Sarah? It is you? Chomper needs your help. Huh? He's not far. Come on. Follow us. Follow us. You guys really need to relax.
That was fun. It's fun. It is hard to think back through all of the different storylines, and I mean, I love every movie where we get to like run from something, or all the screaming, all that stuff is always really fun to film. But I love the moment right before the song "Always There," where Ducky's like comforting Littlefoot, I think, and talking about, I don't remember the exact line, but she's getting settled and they're going to sleep, and she says something very sweet. It's like a little meaningful moment. But the lines that I tend to like remember and say for people are,
You are a big shark tooth, all right? Yep.
And
I do not like swarming leaf gobblers. Oh, no.
So, there you go.
Very good. So, Aria, I don't mean to cut you out of this next question, but we have to focus on these two for a little bit. If nobody's seen YouTube videos and the interaction between Anndi and Scott, it's something. It's very interesting. It seems like maybe is it a sibling rivalry? Is it just a friendly contest? Is one of you actually better than the other one?
Nothing friendly about it. So, if you don't know, in real life, this is my older sister, so we are related. And on the very first day, I was brought home from the hospital when I was born. My sister came up to me and whacked me on the head. And it's been like that ever since. Not much has changed. So yeah, we've had a rivalry ever since I was born. What do you think about? I don't know what I'm afraid to give her the microphone.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, we both grew up in the business. We're from LA, we're born and raised there. And if you were born and raised in LA in the 80s, chances are you were an actor. It was just a small industry. And so we've been able to do projects together. And The Land Before Time is interesting because my brother was in 2, 3, and 4, and I wasn't. And then his voice changed, and he got too old to play Littlefoot. And then I took over from 5 through 14. So we missed each other on The Land Before Time. But yeah, we're a day apart in birthdays. So I don't know if you have siblings, but you can't be that close in birthdays. So we did a show called Bump in the Night together. That was a animatronic show, stop motion. It's really cool. We did Recess. He was in Recess with Disney. I don't think I was there when you recorded. We did an on-camera show. It was a mid-season replacement for ABC called Home Free, which was the show that Matt Perry was in right before Friends. And if he had stayed on our show but gotten picked up, he never would have been in Friends. So that's pretty interesting. But we've gotten to do a lot of video games together and stuff like that. So that's where the rivalry comes from. Just constantly being back and forth throughout our whole lives, with our birthdays and our projects. And I'm obviously better.
For all the little brothers in the room, come see me afterwards. I've got some good tricks and tips for you.
Since I kind of gave them both the spotlight just for a second, I want to point out something with Aria, just to be fair. You recently got married. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Very excited. Myself. Thank you very much. Very happy.
All right, so we do have one question from the audience up here. I'm going to give him a moment, and we'll take a couple more here shortly.
Hi there. This is for all you guys. When you are approaching a new character as voice actor, what are the factors that you look at when you're coming up with the voice of the character? Physicality, personality, what do you look at really, and how much is like overridden by the director?
I'm going to briefly answer this because these two are much more involved in that now. But whenever I approached a character, it would always help if I had the animation to look at, and that would give me an idea of the voice and like when I did Willy Watt for Batman Beyond. You know, being able to see him and get a description of him, I would think of people in my past who may have met that criteria. Willy Watt was kind of a bully, kind of nerd guy, and I knew a lot of people like that, including myself. So I would draw upon past experiences, past people I knew, but I'm going to hand it off to these two.
So a lot has changed in the animation industry, and these days it's very difficult to create characters because we don't get a lot of information. We get like 3 random lines and we have no idea. Most of us audition, and everybody's so secretive about projects now that they don't send a lot of information. So you're kind of out there in the dark, and we don't see people anymore. So I don't show up to Nickelodeon for an audition anymore. I just get it at home, I record it in my home studio, and my agent sends it on my behalf. So I'm out there in the dark by myself, just trying to give this character a story. So I give these characters voices not knowing what's going on in the heads of the creators and the casting directors. So it's really a different world now. A lot of animation people are lucky enough that they get offered roles and they get all that information so they can approach it a completely different way. And people who are still auditioning and doing that kind of stuff. So it's a whole different world now. And that's the other thing is you hear nothing. As an actor, you get no feedback unless you get the job. Nobody calls you and says, well, you were pretty good, but not that great. Like, nobody says, you almost got the role. You never hear anything except for yes. And all the rest of the time, just assume it's a no. So, like I said, it's very isolating. Technology has really changed the entire industry.
Some great answers. Growing up in the business, it came kind of organically. First it was about learning lines, and then, when you're a kid, the director can work with you because they're willing to bring stuff out of you. But as you grow up, you kind of learn your own little ways about how to do things. And sometimes you're stuck in a particular niche. You have a quirky voice, like I kind of do. Or sometimes people are like masters of illusion with their voices, and they can do everything. So when we were younger, we would often get like a picture of the character, a description, like we would have something to go on. And basically it's your own interpretation. If that kid's a tough, or if it's an adult or kid, whatever it is, if they're tough, fast talking, like streetwise, or if they're really innocent and naive, like you just kind of honestly embody that. Like just imagine that kind of person and what would come out of you, or what would come from them, and you kind of put yourself in those shoes. And there's a really actually interesting video on YouTube for anybody interested in voiceover, and it's titled something like "How to Create Hundreds of Voices," and he goes through all of the different aspects of a voice, like the breathiness and the pitch and the speed and the intensity and all the different elements that there can be. And I just think for anybody interested, like check that out because it's very informative and enlightening.
Actually, I want to add something to that as well. This is something we were talking about earlier. There's a difference when you are voice acting as a kid and then you move into adult voice acting. That's what happened to me. So when you're voice acting as a kid, it's all about just saying the line correctly, like you were talking about, having any type of emotion, because it's hard. Yeah, natural voice when you're working with little kids. But when you get to a point like me, so they called me up for Land Before Time 5, every Land 4 time they call me up. Land 4 time 3. Hey, how you doing? They want to hear my voice. I can still do it. Land 4 time 4. I can still do it. Land 4 time 5. I can still do it. It can happen. So once I moved into the adult world, I was no longer competing or working with a small group of kids and an even smaller group of kids who couldn't perform. Now I was competing against Jim Cummings, the voice of Winnie the Pooh and everything, and it's a much larger talent pool. So there's that to consider as well. Your natural talent when you're a kid kind of falls away to more of what you do, and that's crafting a character when you're an adult.
I was going to add to that. So for Sarah, there was already a Sarah, so that's considered more voice matching. So when I went into audition for Sarah, I had to kind of get into Candace Hudson's voice, because she was way more, she's up here and she has a different way of saying things, but I had to infuse my own interpretation of that because it's a character. I can't just copy her, there's no life to it. So my Sarah was just a little bit more down here, and I like to growl things, so I just added that little touch to it. So voice matching is a little different, but it's also very physical. So for Sarah, I kind of get that scowl on my face, just like she has.
If I'm doing a sweeter character like Phoebe from Hey Arnold, I'll kind of get more curled up like this.
So it's very physical. I didn't think about that till Aria was talking about that. But it's hard to think of it because it just do it naturally. But like trying to break it down and think about the steps is a little harder because it just happens naturally when you do it for so long. I have a new character coming up and recording this week for a different show, and it's a whole different experience. But it's just it's very physical.
One thing I found interesting is there used to be a lot of like stereotypes, like a nerd was always like this, right? And like the popular kid was always cool. But a lot of people find it interesting to go against type nowadays too. So really, it's as big as your imagination. Like you could have this character that has this certain description, but you bring something unique and different, and you stand out to the people who are listening. So you really never know. Just go for it, try things, have fun at home, and go for it.
We hope you like our brief answer.
All right, it's 7 o'clock. If everyone can answer the he did have a follow-up question, so we're going to do it. And that was a really good conversation we had there.
So you mentioned you did, 3 lines, and you're in isolation. How many different, portrayals of that character you put out?
That's a good question because that happens a lot more for interactive. So there's a difference between interactive acting and animation. So traditional animation is much bigger. Think of The Simpsons or something like that. They're all these, characters that have like, big voices and stuff like that. But for interactive, the style is very cinematic. It's very real on camera. And usually that's the stuff I don't get any description of. I'll get something like, she's a soldier and she's tough. Okay, well, or she's a mom. Okay, well, like moms are half of the population. So for interactive, it's very secretive. In fact, when you record an interactive, when you book the job, you don't get a script. You show up to the studio, they have one script, and everybody shares it at the studio. They're that secretive. Wait, what was the question again? Sorry, I got off on a tangent.
Out of those 3 lines,
gotcha.
how many voices?
So usually, I can't imagine a casting director listening to more than one. You've got 800 auditions you got to get through, and you've got to get your best take on that person. You can do a take 2 if you've got another idea for the character, but you better put your best take in that first. I don't think anybody sends more than 2 takes of an audition, and even that's a lot. Unless it's like a really big character that they're really searching hard for, but for like most guest stars, just one take.
Do you guys experiment with those voices when you're trying to create voices? Do you do them in front of people and get their opinions, or is it more, I feel this is right, and this is what I'm rolling with?
It has to feel good to me.
One of the last interviews I did, it was for some sort of game, and they wanted me to do a Russian accent. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, is this supposed to be like exaggerated, like, yes, welcome to the submarine, something like that, or is it supposed to be like realistic? Those be done yet, like something like that. I did the super comical one, and never heard that. I guess I made the wrong choice.
You don't know. So we're talking about like how to make the choice when you have like a few lines and how that. Man, if I had the answer to that, I'd probably be working every day. But no, it's really nuanced, and it does, like you said, it has to feel good to you, and it has to be something sustainable. Like you don't want to be like destroying your boys. Like obviously that's fairly obvious, but it's kind of an instinct after some time. And for me, I love doing this. I could do 100 takes, and I can listen and analyze. So sometimes you just have to like let it go and be like, okay. This feels good. Do a couple warm-ups. Make sure it's not like your first one, and then just trust that they'll hear through and hear what they need.
That's the problem with the way that the industry is now is you don't hear anything. So like I said, if you make this choice for a character, nobody tells you, oh, it was pretty good, but you can work on this and make it really great. Nobody tells you that. I mean, I guess if you get training, somebody will give you that feedback, but at the end of the day, the only person you want that feedback from is the casting director and the audience. So that's why it has to feel right to me, and then I know that I did the best that I possibly could, and the character made me happy, so at least that's something. That's how it is now.
All right, awesome. So before you got here, there was a couple people talking, and I don't think we can have them leave without some songage. So I would leave this up to you as maybe your favorite song that you did, your favorite tune to somebody else. If you think Land Before Time, this is the song I think of. Maybe something like that.
Well, we can. Well, one of my favorite song is not one that I actually sang. It's from the movie. It's If We Hold On Together. That's a beautiful song. There's a family. That's right. I think we should sing it again. That's really good.
I wanted to sing with the audience. What song?
Yeah, what do you want to hear?
Big, big water.
Well, it has to be one I'll give you a little bit, all right? Oh!
How about Who Needs You?
Wait, are we in that?
No, Scott was. I know you didn't sing it. It was,
Give us a few lines then.
I need you like a hole in the head, and I need you like a bug in the bed. You constantly bite. Dylan Icky. Yeah, it's Jeff Venn and Trust Me, Neil sing that. Yeah.
I love it. I don't remember it though. I remember when you're big, you can do any little thing you want. Of course, that's not what I know. Why do I sing the one that I know? Come on.
I want to sing Friends for Dinner because Aria and I know that one sort of.
I'll just sing a few parts. That's my favorite, and then you guys can do it. If we hold on together, our dreams will never die. Dreams see us through to forever. The clouds roll by. Of course, I'm you and I. My favorite song.
I mentioned the song Always There and how that little moment before was like really sweet. So that was like one of my favorites. You guys remember that one? Like,
Of course, yeah.
I remember now, like
It was yesterday. She would hold me close.
and then I'd hear her say, you know I'll never leave you.
You can find me
Anywhere. In the morning light beneath the stone, I'm always there. And I don't think that was actually my voice. Oh, that wasn't my verse.
Oh crap, I don't remember.
What are you doing?
I have a worse memory, so
When your tummy feels all sticky and hot, you're filled with bubbly goo, and those fuzzy wuzzy things inside your head make you sad and blue.
don't go around pretending that there's nothing wrong with you. Wow, I'm saying so long.
When you feel those ickly, prickly things, do what the furry horns do. What do you do? We get mama mad!
That brings back memories from my childhood.
I I can't remember what I did yesterday, so the fact that you can still do that, I'm impressed. So we have time for maybe one, maybe two questions. Does anybody have a question? All right, so we're going to go with your two questions, and then we'll call it a panel after that. How's that sound?
You can go ahead.
Why don't you go ahead, buddy?
So, what, it's a long question, that's strange, but
No problem.
what is your realistic in the film and in real life, and what happens to the voice actor? I only saw in one episode of them before time your girlfriend in the film.
Oh, Allie?
Yeah, what happened to her? I miss
Yeah,
her.
Ellie.
Wow.
I miss her. It's so
The
lovely
question is,
and romantic.
we were asking about Allie.
Yes.
So romantic.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it
So
up.
sweet.
Let's just say that Allie saw Littlefoot chatting it up with another dinosaur. Was not happy.
No.
And, no, I'm just teasing. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't think she appeared in anything else.
She did appear in one TV episode.
One TV
Yeah.
episode?
Yeah.
I thought she was a great character. You know what I think in real life? I think she just looked too similar to Littlefoot.
Look, there are two Littlefoots.
Oh,
Right?
I love your love. It seems so true in the
That's
Yeah.
so sweet. I have a Allie stuffed animal that for years I thought was Littlefoot, but a fan, it might have been you, corrected me and said, no, that's Allie. So
I don't think
know
that's me.
people like her. I just don't know why. I don't know why she didn't show up. That's a great question.
We never know. It's the studios. Studio executives make these decisions.
Yeah,
We get told nothing.
well, hopefully you hook up one day.
Yeah.
You never know with Universal. They pop out of nowhere with projects all the time.
That'll be the reboot, is the children. Go ahead, sir.
Now I can play the grandfather.
Okay, I have a few questions, if I may. So I know that you guys probably have a really close bond with like Jeff and Rob all these years. Although I know sadly Anndi didn't get to record lines with anyone in Journey of the Brave. And yeah, but I'm wondering, are there any particularly great memories you have of like working with some of the actors that have like come and gone, like say a new voice of Littlefoot, or like in Scott's case, like a guest actor like Julianne Hanson, voice of Allie, or Whippy Hertford, voice of Hip? Are there any particularly great memories you have?
That's a good question, and I don't mean to disappoint, but really the best memories I do have are working with Jeff and Jim Cummings and Rob Paulson. And I'll share one story that happened recently. I was at Hill Country Comic Con a while back, and I ran into Jim Cummings, who was there, and Greg Berger. Now, Jim Cummings, of course, plays Winnie the Pooh and every other character in the world. And Greg Berger played Eeyore.
Grimlock.
Yeah, and Grimlock, yeah.
And Sierra in number 7.
Right. And I was Christopher Robin in the mid-90s, and these guys hadn't seen me, so that was my Eeyore and my Winnie the Pooh, and also Land Before Time alumni as well. And they hadn't seen me in like 15 or 20 years, and I got to hang out with those two guys in Texas, and that's one of my fondest memories, even though it happened recently. I just remember working with really awesome people, Jeff Bennett and Rob Paulson in particular, who were just so kind and just amazingly talented and awesome to work with as a little kid. It's not easy to work with little kids when you're an adult, and they were just fantastic. They are genuinely wonderful people. That's what I remember most.
So Jeff and Rob have a habit of saying adult things in their character voices. So as I got older in the Land Before Time franchise, I started to understand understand their jokes better. So it's very difficult to keep a straight face when they infuse adult humor into your session right when you're about to record. So that's a little bit of a problem. But we just have such a good time in the studio. It's wonderful to be able to record with people. I didn't get to record with anyone for the last movie. It's just me by myself. You did.
Yeah. I don't know how that worked or why that worked out the way it did, but just like both of you, I have so many memories spanning, 20, I was 8 when I started, so 25 years of my life. Not every year. We skipped some years, but it's such an interesting, interwoven industry. The people who have guested, like Michael Clark Duncan, Cameron Manheim, Bernadette Peters, Nancy Cartwright, Bart Simpson. What did she do? Oh, that's right, Dana, no. Yeah. Okay, so the people who have ended up on the show, I've been starstruck by, just continuously, and it's cool when we actually get to work with them, which sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes a celebrity guest will just be, by themselves, but they've always been consistently very nice. Chris Christopherson, who a lot of people in my mom's generation know, I actually did a play with his daughter years after he was Littlefoot's dad, I believe, or he was the lone
You're stuck.
dinosaur.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Well, yeah, in the movie.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. But even just the little things, I remember, when we were kids, we had to do 3 hours of school still during the recording sessions, and I remember playing with Thomas Dekker, running around and playing hide and go seek in the studio. He was Littlefoot 5 through 9ers, one of them. And I remember meeting other people who were also at the same studio. We were at Salami Studios. It's a very popular place in Burbank and North Hollywood. And I met Mark Hamill there. He was just sitting on the couch, and it was oh my gosh, what the heck, Mel Brooks. I hope you guys know who Mel Brooks is. I met him.
Yeah, of course.
Just at the same studio while we were working on that project, but they were coming and going with other projects. So it's been, and Ed Asner, who just passed away. I remember meeting him on our, at one of the first years and he was there for some other jobs, and I asked him if he was there for an audition, and he kind of laughed at me. It was very sweet, but I was oh, you're cute, So anyways, that's a long story short, long answer. Lots of wonderful memories and very blessed to you.
All right, so the gentleman here in the back, we'll wrap up here. Can you walk up here just a little bit here?
How can you tell from the Jurassic Park?
You come up here, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, it's really hard to hear you. Come on up. We don't bite. Only Chomper bites.
Hey, well, you can get a bite here, okay?
How can you tell from the Jurassic Park T-Rex from the Land Before Time T-Rex?
Oh boy. Well, the Jurassic Park T-Rex is pretty scary. The Land Before Time T-Rex gave us Chomper, right? That's one of my favorite characters, Chomper. I don't know how to answer this question. Aria?
Well, the Land Before Time ones have red eyes, don't they? First of all, and then the Jurassic Park ones are lots slimier and drippier and scarier.
And also, in ours, Jeff Goldblum never got eaten. In Jurassic Park, he did. So, that's another difference.
Fair enough.
Oh, he never got beaten.
There you go. Thank you for the question.
But he didn't get eaten.
Oh, well, that's right. It was the lawyer that got eaten. Well, Jeff Goldblum's leg got messed up. That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right, so we had a couple of VIPs. If you stay here, we'll get your pictures done before you exit. Other than that, Aria, Scott, and Andy will be back at their booth here after, I'm sure, a little bit of a break. They'll still be signing autographs, getting photos, so make sure you go over there and talk to them and take care of that. So thank you all three of you for joining in with us, and thank you all for coming.
The other question that I was going to ask Scott, but the panel ended before I could, I had to ask him afterwards, was why on the VHS cover for Journey Through the Mist is Icky holding a pair of binoculars? I figured that he probably wasn't the best person to ask that question, but I just had to know if he had any little molecule of an idea to what the mindset behind that design was. But alas, he has no clue. Honestly, at this point, I think I've just accepted that Icky is a time traveler. Between that and him singing the line, "I need you like a cold in July." But anyway, after that panel, Scott had to agree that Littlefoot and Allie go well together. So, I can officially say that Al Littlefoot is Scott McAfee approved. And also, I don't know if this was just kinda him trying to make me feel like all my opinions were validated, but I also mentioned that in the one Land Before Time episode that Allie came back in, she really didn't seem in character. It seemed really out of character for her to be gullible. And with that, he also had to concur. So I hung around their table and talked with them a bit when they were pretty much free. And when it came time to allow others to have their time with them, I visited some other booths, talked to some other people, and the three of them even took a look around themselves. There's nothing more wholesome than seeing 3 of the Land Before Time stars in the Jurassic Jeep. Now I gotta tell you, Scott and Andy, they are so much fun. Their sibling rivalry is just so endearing. Which is why it was not very smart on my part to let Scott know that Journey Through the Mist is my favorite sequel. He was probably gloating about it all the way back to LA. And Aria, she is an exquisite human being. She's been a friend of the channel for some time now, but I can now say that she has been a friend to me. We've kind of been internet friends for the last 5 years ever since we did the interview, but things are kind of different now that we've actually met in person. She and I walked around for a little while together. She asked me about how my life is going, and in retrospect, I really should have asked her more of the same, but I spent a little too much time talking about myself. That is kind of a reoccurring problem I have. But shortly before I left, she filmed this little video of me introducing her channel, Tuned In with Aria. Be sure to check it out, the link will be in the description. It's kind of a podcast where she talks with some of her voice acting colleagues, and the video I believe you should be able to see pretty soon. Although I think Aria is kind of preoccupied right now, because I believe she's just learning that her husband has a medical condition of some kind. So be sure to keep both of them in your thoughts and prayers. So, as we were bidding farewell, Anndi said that she hopes that there will be good news for us Land Before Time fans in the near future. But unfortunately, as she mentioned in the panel, the studio is not particularly communicative with them. Now, I'm the kind of guy who's like Baby Driver. I just have to embellish the moments with music. So my plan was to play together someday the score from the ending of Journey Through the Mist as we were all saying goodbye. But unfortunately, there is no internet connection at Harrisburg Mall. Or at least there wasn't at the time. So after a moment that they think I'm gone, I just had to emerge from behind a pillar and sing Best of Friends from Great Longneck Migration. So, took my last mental picture, then I headed out. Man, what a trip. I started watching these movies when I was 4 years old. I'm 27 now. To look back on that time and think about how I'm completely unaware that I would not only meet with, but also be friends with some of the people who helped bring the series to life, well, needless to say, it was a really special time for me. You guys might say that I'm lucky to have gotten to meet them, but you know, I'm really not. This happened because the opportunity opened up and I just took it. So, I just want to leave you guys with this. Don't let fear keep you from getting out there. Whether it's fear of a virus that has a 99% survival rate, or fear of flying. I'm looking at you, Jake. Whatever it is, don't let fear keep you from getting out there and doing the things that you love with the people you love. Life passes you by. Don't be wasting it on your own. Reminds me of a quote from a certain movie that I should be getting around to reviewing pretty soon. In a world so full of life, you're only as alone as you choose to be. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and share, subscribe to more, and be sure to subscribe to my second channel, Pop Culture. I'm your host, Alex Pop, and now if you excuse me, I gotta put my collection back together. Alright. Journey through the Mist video? Man, I've had this for so dang long. There's Scott's signature. I'll see you in the Great Valley. And a Mysterious Island video. Here's Andi's signature. And Aria Curzon's.